Hey everyone, and welcome back, or welcome to the channel. It is now day 3 of the saga. I got my beautiful Volkswagen Taos SE, 2 tons of German magnificence, or should I say Mexican-made magnificence. So for this installment of Taos Talks, I am going to answer your frequently asked questions, and also I'm going to provide some context and a bit of a backstory behind my Volkswagen Tiguan ownership that only lasted 3 weeks and less than 1,000 miles. Because a lot of you had these assumptions that I walked into this vehicle knowing that there was going to be issues, knowing that people are having turbo replacements, engine replacements, transmission replacements. Also, I'm going to get into why I even bought the Volkswagen Tiguan in the first place. But let's dive into the more important questions first. And the first question is, does this affect the Volkswagen GTI and Golf R? A lot of you are DMing me, and a lot of you are in the comments asking this question. And I'm going to put this to rest right now. It does not. The GTI and Golf R use the E8888 Gen 4 motor. Now, it is an update compared to the Mark 7 and 7.5, which had the Gen 3. But I have not heard of any issues from Mark 8 owners. I know a number of Mark 8 owners. Outside of the smaller tech problems with the infotainment systems, I don't think I have any issues. I think mechanically, it's a great car. It's a great platform. And don't let what I'm dealing with scare you off from the GTI and Golf R, because I'm going to say this right now. Even though I have not had a great experience with the Tiguan, I would confidently walk back into that dealership, buy a GTI or a Golf R. That's just me. I'm going to say that very seriously because I do believe in the product. I believe in the brand. Just that with this Tiguan, we have some major issues here. The next question is going to be, does this affect the 2025 Tiguan? Because with the 26s, it seems to be an absolute dumpster fire. Now, some of you have entered the comments saying, I've reached 5,000 miles, 7,500 miles, close to 10,000 miles. To me, as things are progressing, as the days are moving forward, it sounds like it's the 26s. A lot more than the 25s. The 25s are having their own issues. But the 2026s, and probably the ones that have been made since September, are the ones that are having this problem. Now, a lot of people who own SEL R-Line turbos are coming to me and saying, I'm dealing with the exact same thing. I'm going to the dealership this weekend to get this figured out. But I'm still having people tell me I own an SE and SE R-Line Black that are also having the check engine light, also dealing with limp mode, and maybe even needing a turbo replacement. It's the motor. It doesn't matter the output. It's the motor. But as time progresses, it seems like it's really isolated towards the 2026 models and possibly a few batches with the SEL R-Line turbo and maybe just a Tiguan in general. Now, the next question is going to be really interesting here because there is one important piece of information that I didn't think was going to be a big deal or was connected to any of this that I haven't brought up in prior videos because I didn't think there was a connection. So the question is, did I know of these problems before buying the Volkswagen Tiguan? I did not. So the backstory to all of this, the context a lot of you have been waiting for because there's a lot of new subscribers, a lot of new viewers who are heavily invested into my situation here. I have been looking at buying the Volkswagen Tiguan for 8 months, but it's even longer than that. When the R-Line Turbo was unveiled in LA back in 2024, I was immediately hooked. I knew exactly that I was going to buy this vehicle. Then the press release came out in April of 2025, but then also I got my hands on a Volkswagen Tiguan for the first time, I think in late May or very early June. I drove an SE, then I drove an S, and then eventually by October, I got the SEL R-Line Turbo in my possession to drive and experience. And when I had that time to figure out what I wanted to do, whether I was going to buy a Volkswagen Tiguan, whether I was looking at another vehicle for a year-long tester, I really zoned in on the Tiguan, and I didn't hear anything. The only things I did hear was that the infotainment system would black out and that people couldn't access their climate control settings. They couldn't access their onboard navigation. And these are tech gremlins you would expect out of a brand new vehicle. But mechanically, I didn't hear anything at all. Let's fast forward to New Year's Eve. Now, I didn't document this. I have some video. But New Year's Eve, I tried turning on my Volkswagen Tiguan, the remote start, and through the app it tells me coolant level low. So I open up the hood, and it is low, but it's really, really low, like near the neck of the reservoir. Now, I didn't get any video of that. It was late at night. I was picking up dinner. But the next day, it was still beneath the minimal level there. So I went to the dealership. They put in some coolant, and that was the end of that. It wasn't leaking. There was no leak at all. I checked. The dealer checked. No issues. I didn't think anything of it pertaining to a large mechanical issue. But I did go on the forums, and that's when I saw people having some mechanical problems with the Gen 5 EA888. And that's when I started getting a bit concerned. But I thought, you know what? It's not going to happen to me. I'm going to be just fine. Little did I know within about 2 weeks I was going to have the exact same issue. Those of you who do have assumptions behind all of this, like, what the heck did you do with the Tiguan? Did you beat on it, right? Like, it's a fair question, right? I mean, a turbo blows, but like, there's usually a reason behind it. And I think for this situation, with the EA888, seeing what everyone else is dealing with, this isn't an owner problem. This isn't a driver error either. This is mechanical. So the day of, I went to work. I went off to work. It was a 15, 20-minute drive up the highway. I let the car sit for 3 hours because I'm filming a video. I get back, and my dashboard lights up like a Christmas tree. Now, as I look back on that day and that morning, I tried turning on the remote start, and it wouldn't work. And my app told me, if this issue persists, go to the dealership. Now, I saw that message before, so it wasn't like a major issue. It kind of resolved itself a couple weeks earlier. So no issue, no problem there. But on my drive up to work, there was something not quite right with the engine. And this kind of leads me into the 3 weeks of ownership. Because there were days where the Volkswagen Tiguan drove amazing. Like, it drove like an Audi Q5. I know people don't want to hear that because you can't compare a Tiguan to a Q5. It drove like a luxury crossover. The engine performed flawlessly. It felt great on the highway. I had the power to pass slower drivers. But there was always that one drive where it didn't respond well. It felt like it was hesitating a bit. And on the day going back to the dealership, after the codes cleared, after the fact that I was no longer in limp mode, the engine didn't sound right. There was a hum. There was a slight hum that I could hear, a very low decibel sound, but I could hear it, and I'm like, this is not good. Which is why when I went to the dealership and they told me I needed a new turbo, I wasn't surprised. Although, for 24 hours, reading up on everything, I kind of knew based off of other people's experiences. So I wasn't taken aback by this at all. I kind of prepared myself for this situation. And at that point, it was like, where do I go from here? And what happens in the upcoming days, possibly weeks and months? And that's where I'm at right now. I don't know. I have no answers. I have no next steps per se, unless we get to a buyback situation. And then the last question is going to be, why'd you do it? Why'd you put yourself through this misery and buy a 2026 Volkswagen Tiguan? Because there were issues with the prior generation. You didn't listen to those people? You decided to just do this on your own anyway? Well, I was buying it as a year-long tester to experience the highs, the lows, the tech issues, right? I didn't expect a mechanical issue so bad that I wouldn't be able to drive it for 2 months. But also, you know, content aside, I really believed in the product. This was a vehicle that was not only going to be for YouTube, but it was going to be a vehicle that I could drive off camera and really enjoy. I had some road trips planned. Like, I was going to go to upstate New York a couple of weeks from now and take on the back roads of the Mohawk Trail, but also I had plans to go down to Daytona for the 24 hours of Daytona. Now, thankfully, something did pop up where I couldn't go, and then, of course, this happens. But I was going to document that. I was going to have a crossover that was going to be a great highway cruiser, have the massaging seats, be luxurious, under $50,000. And when I looked at what the Volkswagen Tiguan was offering, for one, better features than the other rivals in its class, also the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, giving me 268 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, and I also knew the Germans could give me a good driving experience. Now, some people have told me that the Mark II was a great driving crossover. I don't believe it, but that's just me as a reviewer. I drove that vehicle before. I didn't like it. It drove like every other crossover in its class, but that's just me. The Mark III Tiguan was a game changer, whether it's the SE, SE R-Line Black, or SEL R-Line Turbo. The platform, the MQB Evo platform, phenomenal, fantastic. And that's why I am so disappointed. That's why I am so sad here, because this vehicle let me down. Volkswagen let me down. And when I see everyone else having these issues, in a way it makes me pretty angry. It really bothers me because this vehicle, I think a lot of people believed in this product. When I was at the dealership trying to buy one in October, there was a couple that came in and purchased it before I could get to it. And I asked them, why'd you do it? Why'd you buy it? We love the more horsepower. We love the more torque. And I'm like, exactly, because Volkswagen is your gateway to Audi, to BMW, to Mercedes-Benz. And the horsepower was this major incentive that made it seem as though you didn't need to spend over $50,000. And well, sure enough, actually, maybe you shouldn't spend over $50,000 for anything right now. But sure enough, it seems as though that maybe you should have looked elsewhere, and maybe I should have looked elsewhere as well. So guys, thanks again for joining me on this journey. I think we're just getting started unless Volkswagen intervenes or there's a buyback or there's something. But most likely that will take days, if not weeks, and a lot of things off camera to happen. And I'll let you guys know in a future video if there's any more developments pertaining to the R-Line Turbo, the turbo replacement, or anything else, because like I said before, I think this is just the beginning for the Tiguan and also the E8888 Gen 5 motor.